don't speak too fast.
Sure.
Because I could be lost.
Okay.
Please, slowly.
இது வந்து கிருஷ்ணமூர்த்தி அவர்களால் மொழிபெயர்க்கப்பட்டு தடாகம் பப்ளிகேஷன்ஸில் வந்து ரிலீஸ் ஆகிருக்கு ஒரு நாவல். இது ரொம்ப பியூட்டிஃபுல்லான ஒரு எமோஷ்னலான ஒரு நாவல். அதை பற்றி இன்றைக்கி அந்த ஒரிஜினல் ஃப்ரெஞ்ச் ரைட்டரே சென்னை இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் புக் ஃபேருக்கு வந்திருக்காங்க. இதான் ஃபஸ்ட்டு சென்னை இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் புக் ஃபேர். அவங்களோட நம்ம வந்து பேசுகிறோம். வணக்கம். It is not death when the heart stops, it is death when the brain stops, it is death when the thought process stops. Dethroning of the heart and croning the brain happens. It's an event, it is a revolution.
Yes.
Like these are the words from your novel. So is the novel a political...
A definition was special for me, and as I worked, I immersed myself in that subject. I learned that in fact in 1956 in France, we defined again the death by the activity of brain. It was no more the heart beating, but in fact, it was as if all the human life go from the heart to the brain, and it was in order to allow transplants and when people are in coma. And I thought it was very interesting, and I really wanted to write a human story, a strong human emotional story, but deeply grounded on material, documentary material and investigation. So, for example, that question of death, for me it was such a surprise to learn that has been now it is defined that when your brain is alive, you are alive. When not, you are dead. I worked in that sense always. You know, I'm working. I'm following my track, the track of the novel, given by writing, given by the feeling of writing, the feeling of fiction. But sometimes there is a pause, a stop, when there is a question that asks me to dig here. And this is why this novel is both scientific and technique, but for me this book it's a matter of poetry, literature and emotion. But it's also, as you said, a matter of politics, because one of the subjects of this book is about the relationship between one person and the community that is around him or around her, you know, that surrounds the person. What are the links between one person, one singular person and a community? And in France, where that kind of process are now very well organized and that have been voted, many laws have been voted in order to organize it. I was thinking that I saw in that process a meaning, a picture of what could we call deprivatization. You know, you have some things that are very private, and perhaps capitalism, liberalism are always working as privatization of anything, even the moon. It's in terms of possession, you know, you possess, you privatize, and the donation is reverse. I mean, it's the inverse. You give to the community something that was the most private for you, even the body of your beloved ones. You think that there is a common pot when you can put inside the organ as a sacred pot to go elsewhere in other bodies. And I thought it was very interesting, but how can we be human together? what is the meaning of being a part of a community. Perhaps sometimes it can lead to think that it is to share also organs. So it was also for me a very political question.
Congratulations, it's a very good translation.
Thank you. You have to. We have to tell the name of the translator.
இது வந்து கிருஷ்ணமூர்த்தின்னு ஒருத்தர் ட்ரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணியிருக்காரு.
Yes.
ஒன் ஆஃப் த பெஸ்ட் ட்ரான்ஸ்லேஷன்ஸ் இன் தமிழ்.
Yes.
இது ரீசெண்டாக தான் நான் படித்து முடித்தேன். பயங்கரமான எமோஷ்னலான ஒரு நாவல் இது. You have got many versions of this novel. First is your version and then is a American version.
Yes, yes. It was special, but there is well, it has been translated in quite 38, 40 languages, and two of those translations are in English language. One is Canadian, English Canadian, and one is in American, English American. So one is for a publisher based in New York, FSG, and one for two publishers based in London and Vancouver. So it was quite special to have two translations, but both publishers wanted to have their own translator, and so it happened like that. But and for me, it was quite difficult at first time because I was always asked, "What translation do you prefer?" And I think the both were absolutely incredible. As far as I can be an expert, that I am not, of course, my English is so-so. But it could be also an advantage where I'm meeting students, and when I'm holding the two translation and I'm reading the first page and it is not the same text. So I can prove that translation is a matter of writing. I mean, the translator is not translating a text, he is writing a translation. So for me, translators are the voice of the author. I'm very close to that conception of translation. It's not, automatic things. People are involved and it's their own reading, their own way of appropriate the text for himself.
Yeah. விளையாட போகிற ஒரு பையன் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸோட 3 பேரோட விளையாட போகிறான். திருப்பி அவன் ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகல, ஆக்சிடெண்ட் ஆயிடுது. 24 மணி நேரத்தில் அவனோட ஆர்கன்ஸ் எல்லாமே வேறு மனிதர்களுக்கு போகுது. அந்த மனிதர்கள் எப்படிப்பட்டவங்க, இந்த பையனோட ஃபேமிலி வந்து எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஒரு எமோஷ்னல் ட்ராஜடிக்குள்ளே போயிட்டு திரும்பி வெளியில் வராங்க அப்படிங்கிறது தான் அந்த நாவல் பேசுது. ரொம்ப யூனிவர்சலான ஒரு நாவல் இது. அண்ட் when the doctors say the condition about Simon to his parents, the reactions of Mariana was very emotional. I cried in that scene, and that scene was very suffocating.
A deep experience for me because I am the mother of 4 children, and at that time I had a son who was aged as Simon. So perhaps I have mobilized all my feelings as a mother to write it, but I'm not sure of that. I don't think you have to be a mother to write that kind of scene. I think you have to be like an empty space for emotion and conception. I try to focus on what I was trying to express. It's a very small local where you have a physician and a mother. First she's alone in front of him, and step by step he announced to her that her son is in comas and it's irreversible. So it's such a strong moment of drama and tragedy and chaos that I wanted to stay a crowd, I wanted to keep some distance, not to be pathetic, not to be too, everyone cries. I wanted to be at a fair place, in juste place, situated in a place that could be a fair one. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was my obsession to keep my point of view steady and fair. I mean, the right place for my emotion, not to be overwhelmed by what I was writing on. And you can read that it is very slow. All the reactions are described. It is because also I love describing. I think my books, all my books, are huge descriptions. It's literal literal process that I love, describing, because you have to observe, you have to be cautious, you have to feel in your body, you have to be cautious to your sensation. And I mean, description is also find the right word. So it's the Mariana reaction of I am very slow. If she does that, I'm writing that. If there is a silence, or it was very important for me to be very cautious, writing with attention to her, not to be too fast or not to be too dramatic, like a melodrama. It's a very important moment for her, and I wanted to write it as a very, very fundamental and very important time. At the end of the book, writing like that, I was completely exhausted because it was a huge experience. That I was doing the documentation while I was writing. So as I told you, I was on a path, and I stopped here. I wanted to know. Here I wanted to meet someone. And I mixed my own emotion, and I built the character while I was doing this research. It was very rich, but it demands a huge concentration. And after 1 year of work, I said, yes, what a strange trip for me also. It was a strange journey.
Beyond all the tragedy, it was very poetic. I loved the finishing.
Thank you. Yes. The title in French, the title of the book, Réparer les vivants, is taken from a Chekhov play named Platonov. There is a dialogue, and one of the protagonists said, what could we do now, Nicholas? And Nicholas said, and Tchaikovsky said, now we have to bury the dead and mend the living. So, or heal the living. So, for me, all this project is grounded by poetry, by language, by literature, by... I wanted to, when I'm looking toward scientific fields, it's always a question of literature for me. It's a question of knowledge, because I think that perhaps literature can be a tool to know the world in which we live. And in my conception of literature, it is also linked to knowledge, but knowledge that opens your mind, But it's always for me first a question of words. And when I look at those fields, those scientific or technical ones, I'm trying to also harvest words, special words. It's always an initiation for me. Where I discover, I explore my own language. So for me, the fact it could be said that this book is first poetic and literary, it's my point. I did not want it to write an essay as a report or something. I wanted this book be grounded in language first.
I loved another sentence from the novel, which is like, when the waves beat the shore, it split into 1,000 atoms. This was a sentence in your novel.
Yes.
And I found it a very authentic storytelling for entering into the medical world. So is it conscious? Even though it is not conscious, I was instantly glued to the storytelling. So
it was not so conscious, in fact.
I found the storytelling part of the novel very interesting.
Yes.
It was a very powerful storytelling.
Yes.
There were many scientific facts
Yes.
And you manipulated and interpreted into a beautiful storytelling. It was a
Yes.
very emotional one too, and it moved us.
Yes.
It moved me. So, what is your perception on powerful storytelling?
I think perhaps a powerful storytelling could be something for me that could combines a movement. It's something that for me it's in movement. I mean, it's bring you life of your senses, life, but a life you can feel in your body. It's bring you life, and also it combines emotion, and as I said, some glimpse of knowledge. I realized through the years now, I'm writing since 20 years now, I realized that when I was a teenager, I was reading in order to explore the world. I mean, not to escape from the world, but to win the heart of it. And some writers are writing to give, escape. They want to give other version of the world. What I wanted to do is to give a radical version of the world that is our, and in which I live. And for me to dig this world, and it could be powerful. I love telling also a story. It's important for me to tell something as a narrative author, but I think it has to give a combination of emotion, and perhaps that something that could reinforce a relationship to language and to knowledge. It's important for me. Je suis très heureuse d'être à Chennai. Au fond, je suis étonnée et bouleversée par ce pays que je découvre, et parce que je trouve ici une forme de douceur qui pour moi, que je ne reliais pas à une telle multitude. Pour moi, la multitude humaine occasionne souvent de la violence, des accidents. Et là, je suis dans une région où je trouve que tous ces êtres humains parviennent, je ne dis pas que tout est bien, mais à vivre dans une forme de douceur qui est très impressionnante pour un occidental, peut-être plus agressif, qui connaît plus l'agressivité. Et je suis très, très touchée vraiment de découvrir cette ville, et puis aussi ce festival. C'est la première édition, donc c'est la naissance d'un festival, et je trouve que c'est beau d'être là pour ce moment-là. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Yeah.